C4 Corvette suspension conversion, part 3, installing the crossmember. Step number 1, ensure that the frame is level side to side, front to back. Now this is the diagram that came with the instructions for this kit from Flat Out Engineering. And for our reference point, we're going to be using the center of the shackle mount eye hole for the front hanger. And we'll get our first marks in. And what we're doing is we're locating the cross member front to back. Now this diagram has two different center lines. One is the spindle center line, and then about 5/16 of an inch in front of that is the cross member center line. And we don't want to get those two mixed up, and what that's going to have to deal with is the placement of or centering of the wheel in the wheel well to make it look correct. And now we've got those laid out. So the instructions say 2 inches on both sides of the crossmember center line is the cutout for the crossmember. And so we're going to get those lines laid out on both sides. And what we're doing is we're creating a cutout template. And here's our last marks, and we've got our cutout template. And before we do any cutting, we always want to double, triple, maybe even check 4 times the measurements. And what I should have said at the beginning of this video is I have done an X dimension on the frame and measured front to back and a couple of other measurements to ensure that the frame is square, because if it is not, yeah, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. So we're going to get this piece out of there. And we tried to do really nice precision cuts, really nice precision measurements. But with this kit, yeah, it's going to run into some issues, and I will show you in just a second. Now, I've installed several IFS kits, especially into these years of trucks, Ford and Chevys. And they're all pretty much straightforward, but there's an issue with this kit. And the issue is this cross member has to slide from the bottom up, and it can't do that. And their solution is that they cut the top of the frame rail. They're suggesting 8 inches more than the left side, and that's just to be able to rock this cross member into place. And yeah, that's a real head scratcher, but okay, I can deal with that. Not a problem. I really don't like the idea of cutting out a lot more of the frame rail than I have to just to get this piece to fit. If it was engineered a little bit differently, well, it seems like it would be much more straightforward. But no matter, we'll deal with it. There it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ensure that the cross member is level front to back. The measurement side to side, it's centered in the frame rails. And the height, I'm setting the height of the cross member now. And the instructions say you can set the height, but the truth is, with this kit, it pretty much goes in one spot. Yeah, I didn't really care for that either, but we can deal with that. And we're going to work on getting this piece back in there in a second. But first, before we go too much further, now we've got this tacked into place. Before I go any further, I want to ensure and double, triple measure before I do any more welding. Now we had to cut out a little bit more than that template to get this cross member rocked into place. And I came back, we wouldn't want to weld that big gap, so I made a little filler piece. And now we're going to put some pretty substantial beads on there to hold everything into place. And now we're going to get this piece back in there the way it should be. Yeah, every other IFS kit, the cross member either slides from the top or the bottom, and it's a no-brainer. This puts a lot of extra work into the finish. And we want to make a nice little gap. We never want to butt the two pieces together and then weld them. And we're going to get this piece tacked into place. And something I need to add, and you'll see later on in another video, is anytime we cut the frame, add or subtract, we need to put in what is called a fish plate, and basically that's just a reinforcement plate on that would cover the cut area. So we want to extend past that, and that's just to give it extra strength. We don't want any stress cracking later on. And in one of the next videos, we'll be installing that also. And we're going to get this piece dressed down, or the weld beads I should say, dressed down. And as always, we don't want to try to do this in all in one shot. We're going to break that up into starting with this 3-inch grinding wheel, knocking down the majority of the weld bead, then switch over to this flap disc, smooth and contour it a little bit more. And another important thing, whenever you're grinding welds, you don't want to put too much of an angle on the grinder. I know it kind of looks like it in some areas here, or some shots here, but I'm keeping everything really nice and flat because we don't want to gouge into the metal trying to chase out the weld. And now we're switching over to an 8-inch orbital sander with 80 grit. And that'll smooth it out even more. Just coming along. And last, we've got a little flap wheel. And there it is. Got it really nicely tacked into place. Double checking all of our measurements. The leveling, we've got it leveled out. We've got the frame leveled. Confirmed. And the cross member is leveled, front to back, side to side. And in the next videos, we'll be buttoning this thing up, installing the C-notches. Hit that like and subscribe. Thanks to our followers. And as always, thank you for watching.